Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Homestaging Talk Show Live. Thank you for joining us. Homestaging Talk Show Live is a weekly segment with people within the industry, without the industry, or outside the industry, I should say, talking about business, success, challenges, courses, events, all these different things that we like to share with our industry members and anybody who's interested in being part of the industry. If you're interested in getting into the homestaging, this is a great talk show. This is episode 91. So all the other episodes you can watch going back to the very, very beginning is on homestagingtalk.com or our YouTube channel, iHosp YouTube channel. You can go find all of the segments there. And we got a great show for you today. My special guest is Catherine Lewis Brown, or CLB for short. I just made that up. I don't know if you're actually called CLB. And so she'll be coming on to talk about some things she's working on shortly. And but first, we have some announcements to make. I'm going to see if I can get this to play. And inside here, I did a video. We're very excited. So if I do this, put me down there. Nope, I want to put myself down at the bottom. There we go. So let's see if I can get this to play. So our conference speakers, we just have been revealing all that. So hopefully you've been seeing that online. So let's take a look. It worked. So the iHosp conference is obviously virtual. So we are selling tickets. We just released the lineup and so forth. So you'll be able to get your tickets. Now, if you already had purchased a ticket for the live conference in Denver, the ticket price is $275 for iHosp members and $425 for non-iHosp. And unlike other events, when you buy a non-iHosp ticket, you become an iHosp member. So you're not just paying extra money for no reason. You actually get to have a full year of membership, and it's actually less to buy the ticket and become a member than it is to become a member and buy a member ticket, if that makes sense, because we've given you a little bit of a break, like a $50 break, buying the $425, because iHosp membership is normally $195. So if you do the math, between $425 minus $275 is $150. So we're giving you a $45 gift that way. So you can go to iHospVirtualConExpo.com is the website. So you can get your tickets. Now, again, if you purchased already, you do have a credit with us. And so we'll either apply it towards 2021 and, your ticket for that event, or to something else. I'm hoping to avoid having to issue a lot of refunds because, as you can imagine, we do still have keynote speakers. Obviously, you saw those. Those are paid. We did have agreements with them. And the good news is that they've all said that they would all actually participate in a live conference in 2021, not charge us anything extra, which I'm really thankful for. So, but anyhow, so we're excited about that. And so you should be getting an email from us letting you know the options you have for the credit. It can either be applied towards 2021 or some other educational offering. We have some of the designations and so forth. And if you have any special circumstances and you're just like, listen, I need my money back, you're going to have to write to me privately, Jenny at ihosp.com. And, certainly we understand COVID is tough and, revenues are down for most entities. And so we're just trying to be conservative. So hopefully that works for everybody. And I'm really excited about our lineup. I did want to talk about some of the topics. Just, oh my God, this is so tiny. I don't know if I can read this. I printed it off, but it's like really little. See how tiny the writing is? Okay. So the topics, how the conference will work is it's 3 days. So September 29th, the 30th, and October 1st. So those are different dates than the live version, because the live conference was going to be over a weekend, which makes sense. People get out of town. We weren't going to take any time away from your business week. But I know a virtual conference, if we did it on a weekend, nobody would attend because it's the weekend. People are doing things on the weekend. So we moved it to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So September 29th, September 30th, and October 1st. And the 29th will be all general sessions. So we'll have Chris Widener as our keynote speaker on that day, business keynote. It's all about mindset and so forth. And then all the speakers on that day are general session speakers. Then on Wednesday, the 30th, that's when we get into our breakout sessions. So first we'll have Johnny Fowler speaking on marketing as his keynote, and then we'll have breakout sessions in the afternoon. And then Thursday is our designation day. So that is the IHOSP CDE Cultural Diversity Expert. And again, it was very timely to come up with that topic prior to any of this even happening, all the, Black Lives Matter and George Floyd and all the talk about diversity and inclusivity and racism and all that, important conversations. We decided this, back when we announced our conference. And so it's very fortuitous that we will be having good in-depth conversation about that and teaching people about different cultures. And so Ravi Huti Singh will be our keynote for that session. And then we also have Kevin Tain, Deborah Plowden, and Deepti Nayar will be speaking on different cultural aspects that they live and understand. And so I'm excited for that day. The schedule is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday, it's a little bit shorter. I think it wraps up about 2 o'clock. We'll also have awards. So the awards will be announced on, I think I put that for, let's see here. I should look at my schedule, right? Let's see here. On Thursday, after the designation, we'll be announcing all the award winners for the IHOSP Staging Industry Awards. Now, we have not even started taking submissions for that yet. So I don't want you guys to get confused with that versus Best of Home Staging. So Best of Home Staging, you have until the 17th. We'll see how many submissions we have, but don't forget to submit somebody yourself. You can nominate. This is just recognition for people in the industry, and it's industry-wide. You don't have to belong to an association. You don't have to be an association to nominate somebody, which was restricted from other groups. You couldn't nominate somebody unless you belong to that group. This is industry-wide. It's open to anybody. So if you're listening to this and you like, hey, I know somebody that does really great work, or they're an industry leader, or they do, their clients really love them, nominate them for Best of Home Staging. So, hey, Sandra, I'm glad you're home, and I just want to let you know that I've been thinking about you, and so sorry about your mom. And I know Jeff Wong just lost his dad, and didn't mean to kind of go off on a tangent, but I was just thinking about this morning, that a lot of us are at the age where our parents are older and they're passing on, and it's part of life, but it's so hard to go through. And so I just want to let you know that I love you, and I'm really, really sorry about Jean, your mom. She was such a wonderful person. So, and thanks everybody for tuning in, Lala and Fonda and Keely. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody else, if you could share the segment as you come in, share it to your people. It helps us reach as many people as possible. So July 17th, which is Friday, is the deadline for the nomination. So get in there, nominate people. This is our solution to Best of House, which is more of a designer site. Best of Home Staging, we needed to have a recognition just for home stagers. And again, industry-wide, this is not specific to categories like Best Vacant or Best Occupied or Top Team. So those awards will be given out at the conference, and we'll release those probably by August 1st. You'll see those coming out, which will be great. So some of the topics we have for the conference, you're going to get an IHOSP and industry update, technology for stagers in business. So best apps and so forth you can use for your business. That's a general session. That has Melissa Morrow, her daughter Lily, and then also Betty Voss will be sharing. Mindset, there'll be a whole thing on mindset and being the CEO of your company, not having your company run you, and that's Melissa Gott will be sharing. And then I'll be talking about value versus cost, mindset strategies to increase profits. That's on the first day. We'll have vendors featured as well. So Joseph Hecker is producing our conference, and it's going to be very different than anything else that's being done. It won't just be like a Zoom call. And so there'll be actually interactive graphics. There'll be some segments that will be recorded possibly, and others will be live. There'll be live Q&A for all sessions. All sessions will be recorded as well. So if you're unable to, attend the full day, you can go back and watch the segments. We will be recording all of those and make those available to all of our ticketed members. And then we'll be selling sessions by session after the conference. Joanne Lynette Weary and Sandra Race are going to talk about design trends. And so they have a stiletto approach to trends with the work boot mindset, which I love that topic. Carol Bass is going to be talking about your story, your success. So again, mindset and communication. And her topic is, was it something I said is the topic, her title. And then we have being a leader of influence. That's going to be the keynote with Chris Widener. So then the second day we'll have marketing and social media with Johnny Fowler. That'll be a 2-hour session because he's got so much to share. And then we get into our breakout sessions. And so breakouts will be done by level. So for your beginner, 1 to 3 years, intermediate is 4 to 6 years. Sorry, guys. Intermediate advanced level or advanced intermediate level. So you're intermediate, but you're advanced. You're not a beginner intermediate is 7 to 10 years. And then advanced is 11 years plus. So as you register, we're going to ask you how many years you've been in business. That's the breakout sessions you'll be assigned to. Know that all the breakout sessions will be recorded. And so if someone is speaking on something in a different group and you're like, dang, I really want to, listen to that, you will be able to do that. But this is the way we're going to do it for this virtual conference. And so Gemma Hobbs is going to talk about solid strategies to attract realtors and investors. This is all the beginners. Catherine Lewis Brown, I love her topic, the sleaze-free and pretty much guaranteed method to getting to winning sales that lead to a 6+ figure business. It's a great topic. And Edie Keach, building a firm foundation with agreements, protecting your business forms and templates. A joint session on marketing and branding will be done by Marianne Cherico and Amber Griffiths. And then every speaker will have Q&A, live Q&A following their session. And I will wrap up every day with a daily wrap up. For the intermediate, your topics are how to do what you love, get rid of what you don't, and build a great team. And that's Melissa Galt. Marketing and branding, wonderful, powerful, authentic you. So that'll be Marianne Cherico and Amber Griffiths. So they're teaching both in the beginner and then in the intermediate categories. Pricing and profit strategies and knowing your value. That'll be myself sharing, and then a Q&A again with all the speakers. And then for the advanced intermediate people, there's going to be a panel on developing niches of business. So that will be a 2-part session. And we have speaking Amy Powers, Blair Hamady, Karen Mendenhall, and June Carter. So Amy's going to talk about short-term rentals. Blair will talk about adding retail to your empire. Karen's going to talk about renovation and remodeling. And then June will talk about working with seniors and that niche market. We'll have team member retention strategies by Chris Williams, and she's got some great information. Using photography to brand your business. That's a joint session with Robin Graham and Hayden Yates. And then for the advanced levels, it'll be team member retention strategies, again with Chris Williams. So she'll be teaching in 2 different categories. Lead generation strategies with Tori Toth. Get more done and love your business more. Time management and mastery. That's with Melissa Galt. And then hiring A team players. That's Kat Trulinos. And then Q&A again after every session. On the designation day, it'll be the designation. And then we'll have our awards recognition. And then general announcements, and then big reveal of where we're going to be for 2021. So we've got a great lineup for you. It's going to be very exciting. I'm happy to see it coming together. Logistics wise, we will again have vendors sharing. So the expectation is the premier vendors and so forth, almost like a QVC moment where there'll be almost like commercials and so forth, and then be interactive. So that's our goal, is to provide something a little bit different than what other people are doing, and be able to provide a lot of educational value. And again, all the sessions will be recorded. So don't be concerned if some of the topics you heard, like, well, I really need to learn that. You'll be able to, and access it at any time that's convenient for your schedule. All right, I'm going to share here. Let's see here. Again, our theme has been ongoing. Fear has 2 meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And so it can be challenging. We're still in the throes of the whole virus, and some states are retreating back into shutting down. I heard California is going to be going back and installing restrictions again. So that's a little bit disheartening. It'd be nice if we could move through all of this, and yet when there's spikes in the cases and so forth, the health people are very concerned. So I just don't know. None of us really know what to predict. But the thing is, we can't retreat in fear and let that paralyze us. So being able to face the challenges and rise, which is meant for a lot of people having to reinvent how they do things. We've had to completely reinvent how we teach classes, how we're delivering our conference and so forth. And thank goodness for technology, because if this were like, 15, 20 years ago, I don't think we would have been able to do that at all. The advanced stager training session, currently the plan is to hold this in February. We're looking at Florida, and it will be a live event. So as soon as we have the details, we'll be sharing that. As long as it's safe to get together live, this is what the plan is. And so, because I think it's important to have these types of intensive workshops in a way that you can really interact with your colleagues and so forth. So these are for 6-figure and above staging business owners. So you have until, end of January, part of it, to be able to get to 6 figures. So as long as you're there, you can attend, and it's going to be 2 days. And we'll have some guest speakers. I believe Chris Widener will actually come in person, as long as that's allowed, to share with us. I'm excited about that, as well as other people will have joining us. So look out for the details on that. If you've already purchased your ticket for this, that will be honored, of course, and then we'll let you know where it's going to be held. Excuse me. Okay. We will be getting an update on the SIDC next week. I've been in contact with Deborah Plowden, and I, again, just want to challenge everybody to just, participate, be aware. I will share, the speaker lineup. As you saw the different faces, we've got men, women, older people, younger people, different people from different, ethnic backgrounds and so forth. And if you're sitting there looking at that saying, well, gosh, there aren't that many people that are minorities on there, that's not because we didn't want to have them. It's they didn't submit. So I'm just going to challenge all of those of you that would like to see more of people from your background and culture represented at these events. You have to step up and submit topics to speak, because it's not my role to go chase people down and say, hey, we really need you because you're, Hispanic or Black or Asian or whatever. I don't think that's right, because then it's like, I don't want to pander, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of really valuable people in the industry. You've got a lot to share, whether, whatever your background is. And so I just want to challenge those of you that are in minority groups to please submit to speak and to share at events, conferences, and so forth, so that we do have better representation. And so just going to throw that out there for whatever it's worth. We do have 4 different people that are, minority backgrounds speaking at our conference, which I'm happy about, but we could have had more. So just remember to submit, because I don't know what you don't tell me as far as what you want to share on and so forth. Okay, and then if you are a designer looking to get into staging, this is a webinar that has been recorded for you. It's on our site under education. So adding home staging to your interior design business. It's about an hour long, gives a lot of really great information. If you're a stager watching this and you have people that are like, I want to get into staging, what you do is so fun, you can send them this information. It doesn't reveal any secrets outside of just talking about the differences and similarities between the two industries and what a designer really should be expecting when they get into staging, and things like storyboards and things. We don't do that. And so being able to understand how this industry works, and also the whole process of carrying inventory and so forth, that's a whole new world for designers. And so if you're watching this and you're like, it's not enough just to be like, I have an eye for placement. It's a whole different animal as far as logistics and planning projects, how things are priced. So please, please, please do yourself a favor and also our industry a favor and get some knowledge, so that when you are participating, you understand how to price and how to run projects and so forth, because we're trying to up the professionalism of our industry. And the only way to do that is to establish, processes and make sure that people who are part of the industry really understand their value and how things, work for staging. So that is available on the ihosp.com site, IAHSP.com. You can look for that on there. So I think that is pretty much everything I wanted to share. All right, CLB. You're in Catherine in. Good morning.
Hello. Here, maybe I'll move my chair over. Oh, wrong way.
I know that weird, like a mirror effect. My hair is like, it's weird. I still can't get used to the whole, like, how I look online versus what I see myself in the mirror.
I know. It's a little shocking sometimes.
I know. I got a new background though. If you guys can see, it's kind of like washed out, but it's a panel that's like hand painted. And so it's actually really pretty. It's like seafoam green and blues, but it looks really kind of pale back there. But that's better than seeing my fireplace and the crap behind my head because I'm in my family room.
I have a green screen, which if you don't have if you can't use it, you just have this brilliant green thing behind you. So I had to take it off the wall, but they're great. They hide lots of imperfections.
I know. Yeah. I was telling Catherine, I have a green screen that's like a pop-up nylon thing. Well, first the thing I ordered, this thing came in the mail. So I ordered this camera to do virtual tours. So it's my daughter's working on that. So this package came in, the green screen was like 12 inches. It was like, this little tiny thing. I thought, is that what I'm supposed to put behind my head? And that's not for it. There's actually like a little box you could put together. And so if you were like a stylist that had, jewelry or a product and you wanted to do a close up of the actual product, like, it could be something small. That's what the green screen was for. So, and then so the big one came in the mail, but I haven't set it up yet. So, but you could actually, it's really cool because you can do different scenes behind the green screen.
And it's really easy. Like if anyone wants to do that, like if anyone's doing live meetings or Zoom calls and you want to look, especially the part because we're in a visual industry. And so sitting on your bed really is not that great. I was like on a big call yesterday, not with stagers, and with a whole bunch of business owners, and the number of people that were sitting on their bed, I'm like, oh my God, really? But you can go you don't even actually have to have the green screen. If you do something on Zoom, you can go in and pick a virtual background, but you can also go into Canva or take a photo of one of your own stagings and you can set it up as a virtual background even without a green screen. And it might look a little fuzzy around the edges, but it'll still much better than your bed.
Yeah. So Zoom has that capability. Be Live doesn't have a good one. So there's some third party things you can buy that create the green screen effect. What they do is your head is all pixelated. So it looks like if you move, it looks really terrible. So the green screen is really necessary to be, make it look the best. So, well, so how are you doing? How are you surviving? Well, first of all, tell people who you are in case they're tuning in and they don't know who you are.
I'm Catherine Lewis Brown, and I am the owner of The Successful Stager, which is a training program, online program. I found COVID actually so far has been really interesting, and it's been actually good because I've had an opportunity, which I started out not planning to do this right away, but to launch a new program that I was doing about teaching creative entrepreneurs to create their own online courses. And I never intended to sell it to stagers, never thought stagers would be interested in it, but I ran it as a pilot on the fly. And I had 12 amazing stagers as part of the program. And so you can keep your eyes peeled for great things that they're doing. Like Alana,
have her on the show.
Yeah. She's done something amazing. She's already got people in a course with her. So great opportunity. And so I'm going to run that again.
So Lana, if you're watching, as I actually texted myself, I'm not going to show you my phone, but this morning I texted her name because she and I were kind of messaging back and forth. So she is taking and helping new stagers establish a heart-based business based on what their mission, vision, and so forth. So you might take a course, but then you feel sort of like directionless or a little bit lost. And so being able to really kind of hone in, like, why are you doing this? So I thought, well, that's really, it's very valuable because a lot of people get in thinking like, well, I love making houses look pretty, or they love the idea of staging. Maybe they see it on television, but they don't really understand the business piece of it. And then as you get going, when challenges happen, like this week, I had a mover, the one person approved to drive our truck. The one person, actually my husband's approved, but I don't pull him in. You have to be 25 or older for the DOT. And so anyhow, this guy just texted me. He was here, and then he just texted and he moved to Texas, Houston, and said, I'm living in Texas now. And so, I mean, so stuff like that happens. And I'm like, oh my God. And, he's a nice kid, and he's the son of one of my team members. And, he's got to figure out what he needs to do. And his cost of living is less there. And I get it. But I was just sort of like, oh crap, because all of a sudden that was on over the weekend. And we have stagings this week. So when stuff like that happens, or other challenges, if you don't have a real mission or purpose for why you're in the industry, it can really take you off track and blow you out. Actually, if enough challenges happen, people can get blown out just because it's like, this isn't worth it. I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying myself. And so being able to really know, why are you in the industry? And sure, the creative stuff is fun, but at the core, least for me, I like helping people. That's really what I see this is all about. You're helping sellers, you're helping realtors, you're helping buyers be able to, appreciate the properties that they're purchasing. So it really is about helping people achieve their goals. And then I love educating people as well. And so the reason I do that is because, again, I like helping people. So, yeah.
And I
So
think,
talk about,
well, I was just going to say, I think with Alana, what she's also done, which is, I think, really beautiful, is that she's really focused a lot of what she's doing around mindset and reminding people that they got into business because they love what they do, and how to love what you do and still run a successful business. So she's catching them, right when they finish that sort of more regimented training, and here's your foundation and your framework, and helping them to kind of go, okay, but this is me, so how do I fit me into that? So I think it's beautiful what she's done. I'm like so proud of her. But
it's also, and part of that too is the branding. If you can figure out why you're doing what you're doing and why you love the industry, then that can be part of your messaging.
And you give so much more when you do that. Like it just, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, Amy. Hey, Jennifer. So you are launching a new series, right? So it's the 5-day challenge.
Yes. So I'm going to start a 5-day challenge next week on getting your staging business started. So if you are in those, not exactly where Alana is, but sort of taking you from the very beginning of like you've been thinking about this, because I don't know about you, but when I started my staging business, it took me 2 years to take the course to finally go, okay, I'm going to do it now. And so it's about sort of like, having the support and the framework to put your foot forward and actually start. And what are the best steps to do that? And you're going to do that within a Facebook group, within a group of other people who are in exactly the same place, and with my guidance. And so it's going to be a 5-day challenge. We're going to do a training every day, and they'll have like activities to do. And all those activities are going to gear directly towards being able to say, I have a staging business, and to be able to actually start staging, but to do it with something behind you as well. So I think it'll be really good. So if anyone's interested in doing it and joining me with this, please just message me, or you can put your name in here too, but just if you message me privately, I can send you the link and you can sign up, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of people that, depending on temperament, which we'll talk about that. In 2021, we had a speaker for 2020 that was going to talk all about your disc profile and so forth, of discovering the real you. And rather than doing that as a virtual session, I really want to save that for live. So we'll be doing that in 2021. But regardless, being able to figure out who you are with your business. So you talked about it took you 2 years to really, really get started. From the time I decided that I wanted to stage, it was basically about finding a course, then scraping the money together to be able to attend, then getting it done. And then from the time that we started, took the class, it was like, hit the ground running. I'm not a person that's like, put a toe in and then the next toe. It's sort of like, I'm going to jump in and,
I'm not good with a safety net either, but I'm not good with a safety net 100%. Like if someone said to me, like when we moved to Calgary, everybody was like, why? And I'm like, why not?
Right,
and so, I mean, I still wonder why we did it. I have no regrets, but I guess the thing is that I personally can jump right in, but I also know that I took that first year and I farted around. I went shopping and I bought things that I never used again in staging. And I spent way too much time on a website and way too much time having a logo. And then suddenly realizing that I was way in, and I didn't have a client. And so I think one of those things is understanding the sort of process, and understanding also that your priority when you're starting a business, any business, is to have paying clients, and all those other things will fall into place. And it's just, I hope that with the challenge, it'll be helping people to who are ready to do that, to say, yeah, it's okay. I don't have to have my business card in my pocket. I need to be able to say I have a business and I stage. And I pay, and I charge for it, like.
Right, so you have a business card there. I ran out there at the printer. I'll make sure to get you one when they come in. I mean, there's all these like lines you can use, like if you're brand new, or if your business is stalled, or perhaps, you've whatever kind of tapered off. You're like, I want to get back going again. This would be a great opportunity to kind of dive back in and have somebody holding you accountable to push yourself to get the steps going. I think that's really important. It took me 90 days from the time I really got going and started marketing myself to even get a phone call.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think a lot of people would have given up. And this is because back, in 2002, where at least where I was building the business, it wasn't known. It was Sacramento. There were no stagers. And so a lot of it was just the newness of the concept, and people were receptive, but they just didn't hire me. They were like, oh yeah, that sounds great. But the market was hot. So we don't need to do that. And go back to the Bay Area is what I heard. And so, you have to be persistent. And this is not a short-term gratification type business. That's why 2 weeks ago or two series ago, we talked about, I took my class, I named my business, I have a website. Why don't I have any business? Why don't I have any calls? And it's because you have to market.
Yeah.
And so
and
that
even
has
if
to
you
be
don't
consistent.
market, but even if you don't market, but you're out there talking about your business, you're telling people, as opposed to, like, I always joke about the fact that I have a nice office in my house, but nobody knew who I was or what I did or that I was in there. I just was waiting for them to all, knock the door down and
Find you.
pay me lots of money. Yeah.
Well, and I think today is a lot easier to be found because, 2002, the internet was, relatively new. Facebook didn't exist. I mean, I remember starting on MySpace, which I didn't do much with because it was with the kids, but Facebook wasn't even around. So none of the social media existed. So really, so doing presentations, even like PowerPoint wasn't really used. So when I would go do presentations in offices, I would have 8.5 by 11 pictures of before and afters that I'd pass around. They could see the before and after. And then I went to like foam core, bigger things that I could hold up. Their offices didn't have meeting rooms. So literally it was like me standing in front of their cubicles, and they'd pop up like
No way.
and look out of their cubicle and kind of see who's talking. Is this interesting? So it was very, very different and much more challenging. It's like the old adage, like, when I was your age, I had to walk uphill and just the snow to school to both ways. It was much more challenging. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, stagers have it a lot easier. The challenge, of course, is that it's not new. So what stagers have is, yeah.
And I was going to say also the fight to be seen as well, right?
Yes.
So it's interesting because there's half a dozen of one, six of another, right? If you're brand new at this and it's new in your area, then you have this opportunity to shine. But if you're where there's lots of stagers, then you have to like really shine. Like you have to come up with that irresistible offer, that thing that makes you unique, and you have to be out there all the time. But regardless, you've got to starting a business is the first year is when the work happens, and it's building your clients. And I don't know about you, but I found with realtors that it's really about building trust and building relationships. And they don't all have like listings,
right.
If they average 4 listings in a year and 2 of them are they're buying homes, then they don't need you right now, even though they like to sound like they're busy. They're not. So
yeah, and the relationship is the most important aspect of it. So I think a lot of new people get started, and it's like your best avenue for business is your warm referral network. And I think a lot of people forget that people, unless you like a hermit, you don't ever pick up the phone, you don't ever go out, but you have a circle, you have a sphere, what I call your warm referral network, and that is people that that know a realtor or a builder or an investor, somebody that could use your services. And so making a list of all those people, and because they know you and they trust you and they like you, it's called the triangle of trust. And so because that person and that person knows a realtor and they can introduce you to that realtor, is that warm referral, all of a sudden you have more credibility and access to that person than if you hit it cold. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm also to remember that you always have a list of people to contact, even if you don't think you do when you start your business, because all these contacts on your phone are the best place to start, because these people have already indicated in some way or another that they like you, that they're interested in you. It doesn't even have to be about staging, but everybody has sold a house. Right. And so they all have a realtor or had a realtor that they worked with. And so those are all people to start with.
Yes, my people will lead you to people that need you. And so don't be afraid to ask. And, it's just the same thing. Like if your friend owned a salon or a restaurant, you're going to go support their business, hopefully, and not expect to eat there for free or have a haircut for free. So we don't want our our friends also expecting staging for free. And believe me, all of us have heard, hey, can you come over to my house and give me some tips and help me out? So remember that you do have value with your knowledge and expertise, but work that referral network. And if you know anybody who's a lender or a title rep or a real estate photographer or an appraiser or a pest inspector or a home inspector, those are the 6 top affiliates that, on top of stagers. If you know anybody in those realms, gosh, they are marketing to the same people that we are. Think about how many people a lender has in their database or a title rep. They have to constantly marketing out to the realtors because that's where they make their money. And so it would be as easy as, hey, introduce me to your top favorite 10 clients or 20 clients, get that warm referral. If they have a newsletter or something else that they're putting out, you could write a little, staging tip of the month or whatever, and participate, and then also reciprocate. If somebody needs a lender or title, you can talk about them as a great resource. So it's a two-way street. And working that warm referral network is to me, it's the smartest way to build a business versus just thinking like, God, I don't have anything to say. What do I say if a realtor asks me a question? And, role playing is also super valuable. The pretending to be different types of clients, people who have different concerns, and role play. And I just would talk to myself out loud in my office or driving around in my car. And I'd say, gosh, if they ask me this, I'd say that. If the client says this is how I'll respond. And I would work it out in my head and I'd say it out loud so that when I was in the moment, it wasn't like, oh gosh, what do I say? I was surprised at what fell out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And it actually sounded pretty good.
And that's really about like having your key messaging laid down pat, so that you always have a solution for people, that you go at it with the idea that you're helping people, that you can be of help to them, and they might not even know that they need that help, and you can be really help them through that transformation. And if you think about it, that's why when we're talking about, having that passion, when you have a passion for what you're doing, it comes out so naturally when you want to help people, And
so one of the things, I know, and it's true. And so one of the things that some new people think, first of all, they believe I can't charge the same as so-and-so because I don't have as much experience, or I'll do it for less, or I'll do it for free, and they'll see how great I am, and then they'll hire me for all the rest of the things. And so let's talk about, there is no value in free. So I'm just going to challenge people in the industry, stop giving things away for free. Use the word complimentary, because complimentary still means you're not charging for it, but it denotes a value. And then you can actually quantify the value. So normally this would be X. It's complimentary to you because of whatever reason, but it's a complimentary service. It's a complimentary event. It's a complimentary webinar, whatever it is, it's complimentary. Free, there is no value in free. And when people give things away for free, and somebody receives that, you think, well, I want it free next time. That's just human nature. And so you're never going to get to the point where
they have to earn the free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so don't think like I'll price myself lower and that's how I'll establish myself in the market. Because what that does is it drives the market down. And
people just think it's always going to be that low.
Right.
And they're going to tell everybody she was that low. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're known as a low ball leader, first of all, you can't sustain your business by being the low baller. There was a discussion on one of the Facebook groups. There was somebody doing staging for a certain amount, and someone's like, how can they do it for that little? I have to charge this amount. How can they make any money? And somebody responded, well, I make a profit at this amount. And it was, lower. And so I just challenged, I said, you might be able to make a profit, but wouldn't you like to be able to make more? And knowing what your market rate is, what the going rate is in your market for staging is super important. So please don't guess. And this, I think it's, an innocent mistake, if you will, for people that get in the industry. They don't know better if they're not being taught how to price. And there's a lot of courses out there that are not teaching specifically your individual market. How much is the staging worth? What is the going rate per hour? And we don't price ourselves per hour. Like I would never say I charge X amount per hour to a client, because it would freak them out, because we provide everything as a lump sum amount. But you have to know what the going rate is in your market in order to calculate your services, your fees. As somebody that may have earned $20 in a job, and they go, I'm going to double my income, I'm going to charge $40 an hour as a stager, don't realize that they're leaving a lot of money on the table because they don't know better. So if you're in that boat and you don't know pricing, Catherine and I actually had a whole pricing suite. It's I should have had the domain memorized for this thing. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but it's pricing. staging and pricing. I'll put the domain down, but there's a whole suite of pricing webinars. You can do it as a bundle. You can buy things individually, but I think there's something like 7 or 8 different topics that are taught, plus resources that you can utilize. And one of them is actually telling you exactly, take a look at the North American map, every city, how much the going rate is in each city for staging.
And I just want to add to that too, because, when you know what your area is charging, that's one thing, but that doesn't mean that you charge that if it's at a loss for you. If your market is lower than other markets, then you don't just charge less. You have to figure out how to deliver that service for less, because you still have to make the profit. And why would you not? And really, I'd like to say, why start a business if you're going to start at a loss? Like, don't go there. Find something else to do that's more profitable. But I would say that, so you 100%. It's important to know. It is important to know what your competition is doing, but it's more important to know what you're doing inside your business and that you're making it manageable. So that if you realize that the costs in your business are not allowing you to make a profit. So if your warehouse is, you've rented a $2,000 a month warehouse, but it's losing you money, then go and find a storage unit, or decide to downsize, or decide, okay, you know what, I'm using my basement because I got to make a profit with this until I'm making more money with this.
Right.
So just don't put yourself in a position where you're at a loss from the very beginning. You don't need to do that.
Right. And if you're running at a loss, as she said, tighten up the ship, figure out what's costing you. I think in the beginning, I think a lot of stagers, we overanalyze like the staging, and we overthink it. We're in the house, we take too long. And that's how you learn, did I ever take too long in a house? Yes. Did I lose money? Of course I did. And so you have to learn how to you plan it, you execute the plan. Don't second guess yourself too much. Don't overthink it, because time is money. So you got to get the staging done, and then move on. And, but get some education, around that. It's so important. So it's not a matter of, I can do it for less. It's like, well, to me, it's sort of like, why would you lower your prices so much, even though you might still net a profit? Wouldn't you want to make more? If the market will support that, why wouldn't you want to charge more?
Exactly. And also too, this is something I've never really managed to figure out. It's getting less and less, but still a problem, is stagers who don't charge for all their inventory. Any inventory or all their inventory.
Right.
Everything that you put into that house and every bit of effort or labor that went into that job has to be charged back somewhere. You have to be getting that back somewhere. And so it's so important to not go, okay, well, I'll just throw that in. Throw that in because you know that it's still going to make you a profit. Don't throw it in because you think, oh, well, I can do it for cheaper this way. I mean, I know I did a bit of that when I first started, and I look back and I think, oh, why did I do that? Because then it just set me up later for my agents who just all expected that lower price, right? Which is terribly frustrating. And it's super important that if you're, like, for example, if you are no, actually, that's not a good example, but you just have to be super careful. Like, one of the things that drives me nuts is when I see new stagers, or actually it doesn't drive me nuts, it makes me sad. When I see new stagers or stagers who've been in business a couple of years who are using percentages of house prices, because it doesn't work unless you absolutely know your business inside and out, and you know exactly what it costs you to run your business. You can't just do that off the fly. The people, and there are a couple of them that broadcast that they do that. They've been doing this for years. They're very successful. They know exactly to the penny how much it costs them to deliver a job. So they can do it on a percentage because they have a history to look at. If you're new at this, that is not the way to go. You are going to find yourself behind the 8 ball every time. No stager ever charges more at the beginning because some do. And I commend them for doing that, but not enough do that. We're always kind of how do we make it less? How do we make it less? And
right.
You have to know how much it costs your business.
Yeah, especially right now, there's a lot of people, trying to bargain and negotiate because COVID, and, our business was fine in March, but April, May, and June, we're still operating at less than 50% of normal. So we've taken a hit. I know a lot of companies have. And so they, offering an extra bedroom, throwing some extra things into to get the business. And furthermore, our market is super hot right now because everything was pent up demand. So we're actually looking at purchasing a home, or as a buyer, So I've gone into houses. I'm looking online. I'm no different than any other buyer. I'm like, I can look past a lot of this stuff, but when I start looking at houses and they're not updated, their houses are a mess. Every room is different color. I'm like, next. I don't want to go into a project to have to work on that. But they're getting multiple offers, and so the idea is like, well, we don't have to stage. Well, yeah, you do, because you're going to leave money on the table when you don't. And every house deserves to look its best. And I posted this also in that post. My last comment was, I think about how much we charge. We're basically moving items into a property and getting it staged, right? Getting it set up. And so when you move on your own, like say you're like, I don't know how much you got paid to move from, to Calgary. That was a lot because it was across country. Even locally, I mean, we paid $7,000 last time we moved locally. And that was for 5 guys and a truck and loading up all of our crap. Now, did they pack it? No, I packed our stuff. They just had to take stuff out of the house, put it in a truck, and get it to the next property where they unloaded it. And then we had to unpack everything. So $7,000, $7,000. That's the going rate for labor. Labor is very expensive. And so I thought, my God, when someone's trying to work me over and say, can you do it for less? Can you knock off $300 or $400? I get irritated when I think about it, because it's like they don't understand what we do. Now, whose fault is that? Our fault, because we have to educate our buying audience. And so what I shared is there's 16 steps to doing a vacant property. 16. The client sees maybe 1, maybe 2. They don't see the full logistics behind. And so when somebody's like, can you do it for less? Part of the problem is they don't understand the value behind what we're doing and the whole process and why we charge what we do. And certainly if they try to do it themselves, they realize it's a hassle. It takes time and it's physical. So it always goes back to knowing your value and your worth. And I love your topic, by the way, for the conference, the sleaze free. What was your the genesis for that idea, that topic?
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about pricing, and I guess, this has been a sort of a progression for me as a stager, a business owner, and a trainer, is that pricing is always difficult, right? But one of the things that I've learned, and I challenge everybody to do this, to look beyond the staging industry for training and best practices, because we're still a business, and there are millions of small businesses out there and there are some experts who deliver great information. And one of the things I learned over time was that the framework that I had that I learned about being a stager was extremely great as a foundation. But outside of that, there were a whole lot of best practices that had to fit me, had to fit my customer base. And I didn't have to stick to that framework. And there are other things that can help you to do that. And there were 2 things that really happened that really kind of drove home for me was the fact that one is that when we're selling staging, we're actually selling a high ticket offer. And if you take any training about how to sell a high ticket offer, it's not that you give them a quote and that's it. It's that you've built this relationship, that you have gone from know, like, and trust and love. Like, you're asking people to make, multi-$1,000 commitment to you, and they don't know what the hell you're doing. And even if they had that 16 points, they still don't know, and they don't really care. They just don't know you. And so building that trust is huge. Understanding that it's a high ticket offer is huge. And so how do you make those work so that when you go and do a consultation, you're not at the end of it going, and here's my price, and giving them one price, and then them feel, and then you get this pushback, right? So, and it's natural. Like, it's only fair to your customers that they are kind of going, well, could we do it for cheaper? Can we make some changes? Is that how much we have to pay? We hate it when we think, here they go and they get quotes from someone else, but we would do the same if we were going to invest that kind of money. And as you're saying, Jenny, it cost you $7,000 to move. It cost us probably about the same. And we had pods, and we did the packing ourselves, and I left a lot of stuff behind, but I got quotes, man. I looked at pods, I looked at U-Haul, I looked at us driving, I looked at a mover, I looked at lots of things. So you're asking your clients, your potential clients, to make a decision on the fly like that with not a lot of information. And we don't want to give away our plan 100%. But they have to know that they're going to get something from you, what they need, and they're not even sure what they need. So this sort of came about as I have a certification for the home staging consultant. So for stagers who really want to get specific and they want to focus their business either around the home staging consultation, or they just want to be better at it. And so I have a designation that you can do. And one of the things I added into this from doing other training courses outside of staging was this idea that we have an opportunity to build a relationship before we even get to the consultation. It doesn't have to be through social media. It doesn't have to be marketing. It needs to be a one-on-one relationship. So that's what this is about. It's about like you taking charge of the consultation and booking it. So that's part of your process, and you tell your agent this is what you do, that you call the customer, book the appointment, have a scripted conversation with them. Well, scripted in that you have points to make. And one of them is you talk to them about budget. You don't push them about budget. You just ask them, have they thought about it yet? Plant that seed, talk to them a bit about it, and let them know that that's part of what you're going to talk about at the consultation. And then let them know that you're going to send them a couple of emails, and it's going to help them to get a better idea of like what they can do before you get there, what staging looks like, and how you might be able to help them going forward. So you can do this conversation and create this conversation, start building that relationship so that when you're at the consult, and I teach a lot in the consult about how you want to build that love with your client in the middle of the consult, and you want to, like, this is your opportunity to, be great with them, to impress them so that you can't leave without them having signed on the dotted line. This just adds to that, so that by the time you're through the consultation, they can't wait to sign up with you. And they don't really care about the price because they know they have to work with you. And they don't even have to go research you now because you gave them all the information leading up to the consult. You talk to them about what you're going to do. You've talked to them about the transformation. They've seen examples. There's none of this like spending your time at the consult with your portfolio or nurturing them. You've been doing that. And so this consultation is just part of the bigger process and seals the deal. So that's kind of what it's about. And this is something that I haven't taught other than to pay my paid customers, my paid clients and students. So, but I think it's really important. And I don't think we talk about it enough. And I hear too many people stressing, honestly, about they didn't like the price, or they wanted to negotiate on the price, or I never heard from them again, or, all those kinds of things. And they usually often, I'm sure Jenny will agree with this, they often stem back to something in your process that you didn't do. Or you haven't nailed down yet, and it's really key. It's really important that you are giving them everything that they need to make the right decision and to make it with confidence. And so, what you're really doing, and this is where price should have no impact at this point, because you've talked about the successes, the stats, you've talked about the transformation that's going to happen, and they're buying the transformation. They don't need to be choosing on price at this point. So that's what it is.
Which is a great topic. And I know that, so consultation, so the way you're kind of frameworking it is to lead to the hands-on. So to be able to get that actual work that you as the stager are actually doing the hands-on staging in these occupied houses. There's the consultation piece where it's like the DIY, where the seller's going to do things, but being able to plant that seed of like, when I come back, I can help you with this, I can help you with that. I did a consultation this last week for a couple, and they're just overwhelmed, with thinking about having to move, and they're going to have a new build, so they have to move in with the parents for time with their animal and get their stuff packed up, and then they're going to, move into their new place. But, it's all about establishing rapport and that trust. And so they said, well, do you ever do anything on the other side, like helping us make selections or helping us furnish the new place? I said, absolutely. So don't forget to tell people that you can also help them where they're moving, with paint color selections, flooring finishes, if they're remodeling, or even just furnishing their place, or just setting up the new place with what they have, their existing items, because they get overwhelmed, and, artwork sits leaning against the wall for weeks because they don't know where to hang it, So there's that whole piece, but it all goes back to that trust and rapport and confidence, that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is really, really important.
When you can start out your relationship with the realtor saying, this is how I do business, and that I like to be the one that calls and books the appointment with the client so that I can, because that's part of the whole conversation. I want them to feel supported. I want them to have the best experience with this. your realtors are happy to give you to your clients, give their clients to you and to let you move forward. But I think a lot of stagers are sort of afraid of doing that and being quite honestly a bit more demonstrative with their agents, that you run a business, you're an expert, you're a solution provider, and you know how to do this best, and for them to trust you to get it done. And I think that's a mindset thing, but it's also a really important step when you're doing that consultation and when you're building that relation, when you're doing that, booking the consultation, and also, and then and that you're building your relationship with your realtor as well, so that you're,
I think it's also
trust with them.
Yeah, and it's also with the realtors position in a way that makes their time more productive. So rather than having them have to facilitate and be the gatekeeper, again, it goes back to trusting. I like to establish rapport from the very beginning on the phone with the client. So I'll set the appointment versus them playing middleman. That this is their time available, I'm not available. So they're stuck in the middle. It's like their time is valuable. So express that to the realtor. Say, listen, I know your time is valuable. So put me in contact with the client. I'll schedule the appointment. I will let you know when it's happening. I'll keep you apprised of everything. And so they can then focus their time elsewhere. And I actually just have a realtor client that we'll start working with hopefully this week. She's been doing her own staging, but she's realizing, it's not productive time for her because it's just basically a time suck. And I said, yeah, you don't get paid to stage houses. You get paid to list and sell houses. So that time you're taking to load up and schlep all the stuff into a property, let alone having to store it, manage it, and so forth, and maintain it, you could be making phone calls and getting more business because you will always get paid way, way more on the sale of a house than I would ever earn staging it. That's why my volume has to be, 300 to 400 houses a year versus a realtor can do, 30 to 40 and out earn me, some markets, right? So that's really an important point to make, is that you can help realtors be more productive in their business and not have to be the one that's managing all the different relationships. And part of that comes from, it all boils down to trust, because, they don't want us to blow out their client. They want to make sure that you're going to position yourself in a way that honors the client and also honors that realtor relationship with them. Because the last thing we want as a stagers to go in and be rude or mean or abrasive at all to that client, to the point where it risks the relationship that they have with that realtor who advised the seller to work with you. Yeah. So that's another huge part.
Yeah. And Mazarek says in the text, in the chat there, teach them how to treat you. And I think that's super important. Like, when you hear stagers sort of feel, I see it as them being sort of bullied and taken advantage of. It usually is rooted back to the fact that you have not told them how to work with you and how you do business.
I mean, the whole thing that Barb, Schwartz, let me tell you how I work. That was one of the foundations of her real estate business, translated it into staging. But people don't know what you don't tell them. Never assume they know anything about staging or how you work. And it doesn't even matter if they had an experience with somebody else. Let me tell you how I work, because your process is going to be your process, not defined by somebody else. So you have to share the process.
Yeah. And I have to say that I never went into a lot of detail with my realtors or my clients. I just said, just trust me. This is what we do all the time. I've shown you like some before and afters and success stories. That's what we're going to do for you. And they go, oh, okay. And they don't need to hear the finite details. They just need to know that you're going to get them to across the finish line, and you're going to do it well, right? And that you keep doing that for them.
Right. And one of the best things to remind a client is anything you do in their property, because we staged a vacant home, and it actually had the seller's dining room set and something else. We brought a living room grouping and added accessories and decor, and the house was empty. But the seller, they didn't like the couch. They didn't like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the realtor's like, he's freaking out. Well, first of all, his daughter's in the hospital having seizures. She's like 3 years old. So he's stressed out. And she goes, what do I tell him? I said, you tell him that staging's not being done for him. It's being done for the buying audience, and it's perfect. And the buyers are going to love it. And so he just needs to trust that I'm not going to put something in a house or stage a house in a way that is not going to attract the buyer and help get the success the seller wants. They may not like something that we put in a house, but that's okay, because they're not buying their house back. They just need to trust that I'm not going to do something that's going to backfire. Well, my whole purpose is to help them achieve the success that they want. And the fact is, the first person who saw the house loved it so much they made an offer. So it worked. And no matter they didn't like it.
Yeah. And you can address that all in a conversation, like right up front with, just trust us. We're going to do everything that we know from our experience and our training, and like our massive knowledge of the industry. We know what sells. We know who your customer is, and we're going to stage the house so that it attracts those customers. And then they're kind of like, then they sort of realize in all that kind of conversation that they actually don't have a place in that they don't. And I never had ever had someone ask me to change furniture out or to could I do it? Well, I did could I do it cheaper? But always when they and here's another thing too, just a sidebar. But when customers are asking you, can you do it cheaper? Just think about what it would be for you if someone presented you with a $4,000 quote and you had to and you're like, oh yeah, and you didn't really know what they were doing. You might say, is there a way we can get it done cheaper? And your answer is, well, we could take out another room, and that would bring it down to the price you're looking for. And that's okay, because they're getting still what they paid for, and you're getting paid for what you put in. So that's all you have to say. And I find most of the time when you do that, they go, oh, okay. I want that room though. So let's go back up to the 4,000. We'll pay the 4,000.
Yeah, you can start eliminating rooms. I think one of the biggest conversations, and I've written an article on this that I'm submitting to NAR and possibly to Inman, but it's about real estate agents some of them are covering the staging and they're not protecting their commission. And so they're negotiating their commission and then coming to the stager and saying, hi, I need to get my listing staged. I'm paying for it. They've negotiated their commission was negotiated down. So instead of getting their 3% for sake of example, they're 2%, 2.5%, 2.25%, whatever it is. Well, I know, but so the thing is that they need to protect their commission. So it's one of those things where, to me, when the realtor's paying for that on behalf of the seller, that's great, but it should not be open-ended. And so that'll be a topic maybe for next week or the week after. We'll talk about how you can help educate your realtors and be an advocate for their money. And they want to be an advocate for our staging, but we don't want them to be losing money or feeling like, oh, now I have to negotiate it down because they were negotiated down in their commission already and didn't understand what the staging was going to cost. So it's always best for them to get the estimate up front before they even have that conversation with their seller where they're going to cover the staging, because then they have a tangible number to work with. And so again, that's all about the education process and helping our realtors to understand the value versus, feeling like I have to eliminate a room or I have to, break this down. What are we doing? We're helping these houses sell the very best price versus having to sit on the market and drop in price. And a price reduction is always way, way more than the staging investment. So, yeah. Well, it goes so fast.
I know.
Our time is up. So there's a couple of people on here that said they're interested in your 5-day challenge. And so, Catherine, if you want to type in how to reach you in the comments box, I don't know if you can see that on your end.
I don't know if I can do that. I just tried to put something.
What's your how should they reach? I'll type it in.
And let me see if I can do it this way.
Just going to put her contact info in there. How to reach her. You can find her on Facebook, Catherine with the C, Catherine Lewis Brown. And she's also our IHOSP Canada president. So thank you for serving in that role. She has a monthly call for the people in Canada, those people that are interested in being part of IHOSP or being part of an association. It is a virtual meeting, live call for across the whole country of Canada. And so Catherine leads that. It's the third Wednesday of the month, right? Third Wednesday. I thought I saw something. This is a great show. No. Maybe let me see. So Catherine.
Well, it's Catherine Lewis Brown. And you can just direct message me, friend me or whatever on Facebook, or you can join the, that's probably the easiest way is just to direct message me.
Okay. And so if you're in Canada and you want to be part of ongoing, support and conversation, once a month there is a Canada IHOSP call. So she is also serving in that role. So thank you for your service for doing that. And then of course she'll be a speaker at our conference in end of September. Less than 90 days away. Can't believe it.
And I just want to add that I was part of a virtual conference about a month and a half ago. And it was a virtual 3-day conference. And if this is anything like that, it is one not to miss. It was absolutely amazing. They had vendors set up so that you could talk to the vendors. They had opportunities. I don't know if I have. We had these little thingies. We got sent out. to use. Like we're all on the screen and we're like, yeah, that was great.
So I have an idea.
So audience participation was fantastic. You got an opportunity to network and to talk to people. It was really good. So don't think just because it's virtual that it's not going to be as valuable, because I'm telling you, the information, there's a sort of I don't know if it's a less pretentiousness or less perfectionist thing that goes on, where people are just a bit more natural talking, but you feel like they're your friend, and it was really beneficial. So definitely sign up. It'll be a great event. There'll be lots. I think that now this is just my 2 cents. I haven't told Jenny this, but I think it's the sort of thing that it would be great to start to do a virtual event, and even if it's like something a little less, but a little not quite the same focus as the conference, but every second year you do it, or you do a smaller version or something like that, and you do it virtual. I think it's a great way to make sure that everybody gets to participate, and it can be a different topic, Well,
I think one of the benefits of the virtual too is that you're not limited geographically. People having to travel by hotels. There's 2 schools of thought. People like being able to see their colleagues and get together in person. That's one of the huge benefits of a live conference.
Absolutely.
The virtual, though, will allow us, anybody around the world can attend. You don't have to get on an airplane. You can plug in. So I'm hoping the attendance will be even more than what the normal live attendance is. And so I think there's definitely a place for both, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the whole thing you said about, it's less pretentious because you're inviting people, you're basically coming into their home.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah.
Because that's when most people are going to be watching it. And whether the person's watching their jammies or casual wear, it's not all about getting dressed up. And like, I am fully dressed, but you wouldn't know, like I could be wearing my pajama bottoms. You wouldn't know that. So there's a whole, even the speakers, there's a whole thing, like it's a different realm versus being up on stage and having to deliver to a large audience. And that energy, I think the one-on-one, it's just a different experience. So
it's a feeling of like you're all in it together.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
And so I'm going to put the website here, iHouseVirtualConExpo.com. Oops. Dang it. I can't type. Okay. So that's where you can go get your tickets for the conference. And we'll have another segment next week. My plan is always to get myself out the door up to my warehouse, because that's really where I'd like to film the segments. But I don't have a car right now because one of my kids has it and goes to work using my car. So he has to get his own car.
Do you know like in Alberta, kids can start driving at 14.
At 14?
14.
I know some kids do that. There's like on a farm or something like that. I know that happens. And
I think that's where it originates from. But still, not my
That's
kid.
kind of scary.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I can be around when that kid's learning how to drive. Anyway. Well, thank you for being on. I always love seeing you. And
I love doing this. Yeah, it's great.
Well, good. So we'll she can post info. Reach out to her about the 5-day challenge. You can send me info and I can post it in the comments later too as well. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure to join us next week for another segment, and we'll be back. Home Staging Talk Show Live. Bye everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Take care.